All right, so live on YouTube. Sweet. All right, everything seems to be in working order, gang. Welcome to the PT on Ice Daily Show. My name is Guillermo Contreras. I want to welcome you to the best day of the week, Fitness Athlete Friday. Today, I'm going to be jumping into a fun kind of difficult topic to discuss in that it's pretty complex, but we're going to hopefully give you a nice idea of what we're starting at. It's weightlifting 101, and specifically we're talking about Olympic weightlifting. Before that, though, let's go ahead and talk some fun stuff. Where are we going to be in the next couple months? First and foremost, we're all done in June. We're not traveling at all in June. The fitness athlete team is grounded at home, focusing on online courses right now. But come July, we're going to start traveling a little bit again. On July 16th, we're going to be in Grand Rapids, Michigan at Illuminary CrossFit. I believe Joe Hanisco is going to be leading that one there. So make sure if you're in the western Michigan area, or in Michigan in general, Indiana, etc., make that trek up there. Nice facility there that Joe's going to be hosting at. That's it in July. So we have one course in July. August, we're a little bit busier. So in August, we're going to be primarily East Coast and Midwest. August 6th, we're going to be at CrossFit TPE, and that is last time I tried to say the city, I butchered it. So Zelienople, Pennsylvania. We're going to be in Pennsylvania on August 6th at CrossFit TPE. August 13th, we're going to be at two different spots, CrossFit Polaris in Westerville, Ohio. If you're familiar with CrossFit athletes and, Christy Aramo O'Connell, I believe that is her home box, her actual CrossFit gym she owns. So it's kind of cool to be able to work a weekend there. And then we're making our triumphant return to the Great White North, heading up to Halifax, Nova Scotia in Canada at Ironstone Strength on August 13th. So August 13th, we are both in Nova Scotia, Canada, as well as Westerville, Ohio. And then the last course in August is right here in my own city of Milwaukee at CrossFit 414, and that is on August 20th. So if you are in the Milwaukee area, Madison, anywhere in the state of Wisconsin, Minnesota, Chicago, even Indiana, it's not too far of a drive, right? Been dying to hit up a fitness athlete course. That's going to be a great weekend up here in Wisconsin. CrossFit 414 is a beautiful facility. I work out there pretty often. Marcus is an awesome owner, and it's going to be myself, Joe Hanisco, and Kelly Benfey. So you're going to a great trio. You're going to have three of us there, all hanging out, throwing down barbells, talking all things fitness athlete that weekend with you. Online courses, we just kicked off our summer cohort of Essential Foundations last week. So we are started off with the front squat, we're hitting up the back squat, deadlift, overhead press, pull-ups. We hit a Metcon, we hit a remom, a little bit of everything, right? So it's a great course. If you've been looking to take Essential Foundations, want to start to get an idea of how to use the barbell, how to implement loading progressions, look at recovery, have those conversations with your patients, highly recommend you take Essential Foundations. Next cohort is September 12th. So you have a couple months to kind of decide if you want to take it. But if you do decide, I recommend signing up sooner rather than later. We have sold out the last three cohorts. And after we sell out, we always have emails from individuals asking, is there a wait list? Can I still get in? Is there any way I can jump on? I waited a little too long, or I forgot to sign up, whatever it is. So if you're going to sign up for that September 12th cohort, do it sooner rather than later. You don't want to miss out if you've been dying to take it, because the next one after that, I believe, is not until either January or December. So there's a little bit of a break there. And lastly, CMFA Advanced Concepts. So if you've taken Essential Foundations, you've taken Live, and you want to finish out the trio to get that clinical management, the fitness athlete certification, the certification that says you know fitness athletes and you know how to treat fitness athletes, right? This is the last of the three you're going to take, not specifically in any order, but you're going to take it after Essential Foundations for sure. That is August 15th. That is with Zach Long, the barbell physio, and Mitch Babcock, right? They lead that one. You go over Olympic weightlifting to a higher level. You go over high-level gymnastics. You go deep dive into programming, both in the CrossFit sphere as well as progressive overload, mobility programs, how to scale, modify, and change movements, or programming for athletes, right? This is huge in the CrossFit population, especially because we know that population, if they get hurt, they want to continue to train, right? So how do you make yourself stand out above all other clinicians? You show them, hey, let me show you how you can continue to train even with an injury. And here's some programming I have for you. And while you're doing that, let's go ahead and work on your rehab as well. So great course, highly recommended if you haven't taken it. Essential Foundations is the kind of beginning, Advanced Concepts is the higher level online course, and the live course is just a lot of hands-on, a lot of talking, a lot of fun there. So that is all the logistical fun I have for you now. So we can get into the topic at hand, which is weightlifting 101. And again, this is specifically Olympic weightlifting, and we're going to talk primarily about the clean and the snatch. We won't get into the jerk too much. Again, the jerk is when you clean that bar into the shoulders, the jerk is getting that barbell up and overhead. We're not going to dive into that too much because that gets a little bit more complicated. And typically in the Essential Foundations, we used to cover just the power clean and the power snatch. So that's kind of where I'm starting and basing this off of, because that's also what we look at in the live course. Advanced Concepts, you obviously look at a lot more, but again, advanced for a reason. There are things we want to make sure we talk about. And the reason I'm discussing this topic is when we are working with fitness athletes, or our hope is to work with CrossFitters in general, you're going to have Olympic weightlifting in their programming, right? It's going to happen. They're going to be doing power cleans, squat cleans, snatches, power snatches, overhead, like snatch balance, like things like that are programmed in CrossFit programming. And if you're having athletes come to you and they're stating, hey, I have pain with a clean, or you ask them, when does it hurt? And like, you know what? It's when I catch my snatch. If your first response to that is like a question mark, that I don't know what that is, and you're pulling up a YouTube video to see what it looks like, oh, okay, I get it, right? That is not going to get the best patient buy-in. So we want to make sure that we understand these movements at least a very basic level, at a foundational level. And that's what this is kind of giving us here. It's almost like a teaser into what it looks like in the courses that we do when you're at the live course, and we go at a much deeper way and look at it movement by movement, by piece. And the main points I want to talk about are your position. Like, what are we talking about when we say we want to see a good starting position, a good setup position? Our movements, what are the phases of the movement, right? We're going to specifically cover over the first pull, the second pull, and the catch. We're going to leave out like the transition and some other stuff that kind of gets a little messy there, because we're going to keep it as simple as possible so you can help the broadest amount of people as well. And then we want to talk about speed of movement, right? So those are the three topics I'm going to go over. First and foremost is position. This is probably, I think, the most important part, because if we get the setup right, a lot of the other pieces fall into place at times. When someone looks a little wonky, when it kind of like the bar floats away, when their knees are kind of like rocking forward or sideways, whatever it may be, a lot of times if we take a really good look at the athlete's setup position, it can fix everything. And what do I mean by the setup position? Well, if we're talking about the clean, right? And this is a little bit of a teaser, so I don't have a barbell or anything to show you here. Maybe next time I actually have like a whole, I'll do this in my gym and we can kind of show everything there. But where is the grip on that bar, right? Is the grip narrow or is it wide, right? For a snatch, we want a nice wide grip, enough so that when they're standing, that barbell is hitting at the hip crease. With a clean, the grip is more narrow. I usually tell people about a thumb's width from their knees or their thighs, because that's going to allow that barbell to hit right kind of at the pockets. We can call it the pockets position or the power position. What's the posture look like? The clean and the snatch are different than the deadlift. If you're familiar with the deadlift is a more hinge dominant pattern, right? We still drive the floor away with our legs, we're pushing the floor away with our legs, but our torso, rather than being a little bit more forward, in the clean and the snatch, it's slightly more upright. And the reason for that is because the barbell, right, another thing about position, is the barbell is going to be slightly forward compared to the deadlift, where we want it really close to the shins. So I usually tell people, look for it to be near the end of the shoelaces or over like the metatarsal break, or kind of where your toes start, because that barbell is going to rise up and move up towards the hip versus just go straight vertical. So we got that. We got posture, right? We want a more upright posture, which is going to be a different back angle. We have that grip. Where is it going to be narrow, or is it going to be wide, or more narrow or more wide? And then we have stance width. Again, we talk about hip width apart, especially for all jumping patterns. Like the deadlift is hip width stance. Your squat is shoulder width stance. When we're setting up, we want a slightly more narrow stance position, because it's going to allow for a larger amount of amplitude as we jump up and get into triple extension as we move through the phases of the lift. So then when we're looking at movements, we're looking at the phases of the lift. The three main ones we're going to talk about are the first pull, the second pull, and then the catch. right? There's actually a really funny meme out there that basically says, with a snatch, what do? Well, you push the floor away, you pull it in your hip, you jump, you say a prayer, and then the bar somehow ends up overhead, right? That's kind of what a lot of people picture for the snatch, and at times with the clean, if it's a scary movement for them as well. But what we're actually doing is, in that first pull, what are the main things we want to see? When we start that first pull, we're in that position there. Again, our torso is more upright, our feet are underneath us. We're nice and locked into a nice neutral spine position. As we press the floor away, right? We're pressing the floor away. We're not yanking it up. We're pressing the floor away. My hips and my torso at that angle are rising up together. So as I do that, my knees come back slightly, and that barbell stays and moves into my hip a little bit more. So it kind of comes closer to my thighs. We're basically moving up until we are slightly over that barbell, and we're feeling a little bit of tension along the backs of our legs and our hips. Once we get there, right, once we start to feel that tension, we're still being patient. We're letting ourselves stay over that barbell. We are then rebending the knees, and we're scooping into the hips, right? So this is hard. I'm going to actually demo this one here. But we're here. Torso rises up at the same time. And then we're rebending the knees and scooping the bar into our hips and bringing it into our jumping position. That part where we move it into our hips and we transition to the jump, that is the second pull, right? So our first pull is from the ground basically to the knees. The second pull is that scoop of the hips, getting our shoulders behind the bar and getting the knees underneath it to get ready to jump before we go into an explosive triple extension, where we aggressively pull up on the bar, keeping it close to our bodies, and pull ourselves underneath that bar. And then last is the catch, right? Where we're either catching aggressively overhead or catching in that front rack position for the clean. The biggest things we want to make sure there, right, is that that's a lot of speed, right? We want to be quick. We want to fly through and catch in that ending position, versus a lot of times you see people catch and then kind of rotate their elbows forward. These are all important things to know, right? We want that speed. We want to see those elbows forward. We want to see those shoulders locked out and pressing aggressively overhead, because in the snatch and the clean and jerk, the biggest complaints are typically either wrist pain or shoulder pain, especially when it comes to that catch position. So we want to make sure that these athletes are aggressive and are strong in those positions, are strong in their front rack, and are strong in their overhead press position in that snatch grip. So we want to make sure, right? Are we hitting that first pull? Are we pushing the floor away, or is our athlete getting yanked out of position? Can we fix that stance, that setup position a little bit? In that second pull, are they rebending the knees and getting themselves in a nice upright position, getting ready to explosively create triple extension? Or are they keeping that bar really far away and then yanking it far from their bodies? Right? These are all little things that we want to look at when we're watching people weightlift, and we want to know, okay, what does the ideal look like? How close is my athlete to that ideal? If they're not, what can we do to help them? And how can what I'm seeing in there, sorry, my dog just walked in, so you hear his claws clittering everywhere. How can we adjust, fix those things, change those things, so maybe they're not dealing with shoulder pain, hip pain, low back pain, whatever could be causing it. But right away, when I'm watching you lift, these are the things I'm seeing. I'm not 100% sure how to fix them yet, but I'm going to find out, or I'm going to take essential foundation so I know how to have these conversations with you. But I know that something's off, and I can adjust it, and we can have a talk. Hey, it looks like your second pull's a little bit off. What do you see going on here? Let's have a talk about that. And then lastly, it's speed, right? This is probably the one thing that I think a lot of people miss, especially newer CrossFitters, right? Novice or intermediate CrossFitters and weightlifters, is they get into a habit of just yanking that barbell off the ground as fast as they can and then shooting themselves underneath it as fast as they can. And what we actually want to see is we want to see speed build up through the movement. So that first pull is a concentrated push off the ground. It brings into the hips. Once we're getting into the hips, then we have speed through the middle. That's something Coach Bergner and Bergner Strength in general talk about, is speed through the middle. We have a controlled lift from the ground. We get into that nice second pull position. It's aggressive speed, fast through the middle, explosive jump, catch fast underneath, and then we stand it back up. Right? There's a saying I always like to say in the Essential Foundations course, which is patience and then violence, right? You are patiently driving up to the ground, making sure your body's in a good position to be able to bring that bar into your hip. And once you get there, it's explosive, violent triple extension to catch underneath that bar. Cool. As I mentioned, this is 15 minutes and less, right? Because if you take out like the 4 minutes of my intro, that I'm trying to break down weightlifting and discuss weightlifting. But these are just fundamental things we want to talk about, things we should understand and have a good idea of. And again, this is a teaser, right? This is me talking about it. Look up videos, look at what I'm talking about, research this a little bit more. We need to be comfortable discussing these things, discussing the first pull, the second pull, what's your setup position, what does it feel like when you get off the ground, what does your catch feel like, what are your shoulders doing, what are your elbows doing, what's limiting you in that position, could that be hurting them, right? Those are all things we need to be really comfortable talking about, assessing, and looking at if we want to work with fitness athletes, because whether we want them to or not, whether we think they should or not, they are going to lift. They are going to play with barbells. They're going to lift barbells. We need to be good at having these conversations and working with these athletes and having these discussions with them, because they're going to keep doing them. So the more we know, the better we are at understanding all the principles of weightlifting in and out of the CrossFit space, by which I mean like Olympic weightlifting by itself or powerlifting, etc. The better clinicians we are going to be, the more therapeutic alliance we're going to have with our patients, with our clients, and the more likely they are to want to see us and say like, yo, this person knows what they're talking about. I'm for sure going to be helping them or working with them because I know they're going to help me. Great, King. Awesome. Again, any questions, feel free to shoot them in the comments. So let me know if you have any. Hopefully helps a little bit just to have a nice understanding of these principles here. And hopefully you're doing some weightlifting yourself so you can get an experience and feel what it's like to perform weightlifting, to perform a snatch, to perform a clean, right? It seems scary at first, but once you start to get more and more experience with it, it actually feels really cool and it's a lot of fun. So thank you for joining me this morning. I'll look forward to catching up with you all on Monday, another episode of PT on Ice, and have a great weekend, everybody.